And happy Monday. If you have been in the space, in the new year, new you space, if you've been walking along with us, there are so many things that we've learned over the course of this journey that we've been on to reverse our diabetes, to improve our metabolic health. And I know you have some questions. I've had people send me messages, send me questions. And tonight, here on this episode, we're going to answer those questions for you. How do we improve our health? How do we what do we need to know about fasting and metabolic disease and reversing diabetes and so forth? And any other questions that you may have that you've had in your mind that you haven't quite answered, we're going to get to those. So make sure that you begin thinking about those and dropping those in the comments. Hey, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And in this year, new you. That's right. I'm talking to adults with type 2 diabetes who want to reverse their diabetes, who want to become metabolically healthy and set themselves up for success as they move into the future. If you're new, go ahead and drop new in the comments because I'd love to welcome you with a hand clap and some music. And let you know that we are glad that you are in this space. If you have questions, as I said, go ahead and drop those in the comments. Make sure you put a Q in front of it because we'll, as we search through the comments, I want to make sure that we answer those and get to them as we move through this episode of the show. Wherever you're joining us from, whatever platform you're on, Twitch, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and of course here on YouTube. I welcome you to this space. We're always happy when our community joins us and happy when we get a chance to interact with you. So we'll say hi to folks here in just a minute. But we've been on an amazing journey. We've been in this space and having an amazing time as we've walked through New Year, New You. And we'll give a little bit of backdrop to that in a minute. But in the meantime, if you've not done so, on our YouTube channel, there are over now, at the last counting for this year, there are over 200 videos that we've done on everything from fasting to setting goals to reversing diabetes, about meal planning and emotional intelligence and how to be mindful. Just a wealth of information that's out there for you. So make sure that you are looking at all of those and that you're taking advantage of it. Okay, make sure that you are doing that because as we turn the page, as we get ready to turn the page into the new year, I want to make sure that you are you know where those resources are and that you are taking advantage so that you can set yourself for success as we move into the future. Yep. Okay, so let's hop over and let's take a look and let's say hello. Well, before I do that, you know how we do. I've got off to my side, I've got my monitors that we're going to take a look at here in just a minute so you can see what those are. I've got a Keto Mojo and a contour meter. And then, of course, right below me is my Dexcom Clarity Report that we'll take a look at here in just a minute to see what those blood sugars are, okay? But before we do that, let's hop over and let's say hello. I do hear some folks popping in and saying hello to each other. So let's go ahead and bring those up. So I see Teresa. Hey, Teresa. Teresa says, hey, doctor and everyone. Glad that you are here, Teresa. Gian says, hi, doctor. And hello, Teresa. And Gian says, great to see you again, Doc. Jennifer says, howdy y'all. Hey, Jennifer, how are you? Any more canning going on out there? Gian says, hi, Jennifer. And then Cornelia. Hey, Cornelia, how are you? Thanks for, haven't seen you in a couple weeks. So glad that you are here in this space hanging out with us. Actually, let me move this one down here. And Julian says, hello, Cornelia. Autumn Joy, new here, and it's a pleasure to meet everyone. Hey, Autumn. Welcome. You get some music and you get a hand clap. We're always glad when we have new community members. So glad that you took the time to come hang out with us. Gion says hello. Pamela, hey Pamela, how are you? Pamela White, glad that you are in the space. Gion, of course, saying hello to Pamela. Howdy Autumn and welcome from Jennifer. Pamela says, hi, Gion. Gion said, Doc, I can't imagine how I spend my day without food. See, Gion, you're just jumping right in there. I'm gonna star that comment, and then we're gonna come back to that here in just a little while. And of course, Pamela is saying hello to Autumn, and Cornelia says, yes, thank you. Always so glad to join the space. Yes, glad that you are here. Let me go ahead and put one thing up while I'm thinking about it right now in terms of joining the space. Go ahead if you've not already done so, and remember our community meetup for this month is coming up on the 19th. We moved it up 1 week because of the holidays. Normally we meet on the fourth Thursday of the month, and I'm just dropping that link into the chat right now. So if you've not already done so, go ahead and do that. And some exciting things that we're going to be talking about in the community as we move, get ready for the new year and all the things that are going to be happening there. All right. So let's talk. Hopefully everybody had a great weekend. Got a chance to hang out with family and friends. I had this weekend was a lot of stuff going on in my space. My son had a recital. We had some things that we were doing at church, and just a lot of things going on as we are kind of getting ready to getting our house ready for hosting some family members who are coming in. The tree and the shopping, and I've already told you guys that I grew up in Brooklyn. And so the whole Christmas time hanging out downtown Brooklyn and going to the stores for me is a big deal. And all those things that you see on TV, those shows, those movies, Miracle on 34th Street and so forth, that was kind of my thing. And so this time of year is actually pretty exciting for me. And of course, I'm gonna mention it, not to trigger anybody, but eggnog is still a big deal for me. And you will be glad that I have not had any eggnog since that first time. Okay, but I have had some other things. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at blood sugars, and then we'll come back and hop into the show. So blood sugars, let's take a look. And what you're seeing on the screen right now, this is my Freestyle Libre, and the Freestyle Libre says that my blood sugar right now is 98, and you'll see there for the last 12 hours, what has been earlier this morning was higher, coming out of the weekend. We'll take a look at that in a minute. And then if I look at my Dexcom Clarity, kind of the same thing. If I go to 12 hours, 24 hours, we were a little higher back over there. And we're going to talk a little bit about buffering. Okay, so right in there, there's some buffering going on, y'all. I think I mentioned to you all some stuff from last week, but here we are, right in our 12-hour period, and I think so. Right now, it is right at about 22 hours, maybe 22 hours since I've eaten last. Okay, and we'll take a look at that. All right, so now let's hop over and let's take a look at my monitors. And so here I have my Keto Mojo and I have my Contour. And the Contour, of course, gives me, let's do this one. Contour gives me a blood sugar, and the Keto Mojo will give me both blood sugar and ketones. So if you think you know what my ketones are, go ahead and drop those in the chat. Drop a guess while I go ahead and open this up. So the brown one is blood sugar, and of course the blue is ketone. So let's go ahead and open this guy up, get that strip in here, and I'm going to open this one just so I can have it off to the side. That way I don't have to stick myself again. Get into my container, and let's see, do I have any of my, okay, yeah, there it is. As I've mentioned to you guys before, I'm a little partial to this one. It seems to do a better job for me. And I don't typically use a Lancet or a Lansing device. I just use the Lancet. Basically turn this top part off and find a finger. And I tend to use the same finger, which is this one right here. And you probably can't see. Yeah, you probably can't see, but that one is pretty much beat up. And most people will end up using the same finger because after a while it becomes a little calloused, and so it doesn't hurt quite as much. Ow, 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 ow. Let's see if I got a good, maybe. I think I might have to go to a different spot, because that's the other thing. Because it is calloused, and you don't feel it as much, you don't often get a good stick. But this one looks like I got at least one drop to start that one, and let's see if it'll cooperate and give me 2 more drops. So I've got 1 drop there, so 90 for my Keto Mojo, and 94 for my Contour, and of course right there you'll see that's my Dexcom, and I think I can probably squeeze 1 more drop of blood out to get this going. And this is my ketone. This is my ketone strip that I'm putting in. And I don't think that I am in ketosis. Let's see, did that work? Okay, that started working. Okay, and so I'm not going to show you guys that right now because you're gonna guess to see what it is. So let's hop back over here. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and have our conversation. And let me do this really quickly. So as we're talking about reversing diabetes, New Year, New You, the process that we've been on, the journey that we've been on in learning tools that push us, that support us, that take us in a direction to be metabolically healthy, and specifically talking about reversing diabetes. Now, as I've mentioned before, we could talk about the tools that we've used in implementing them in various types of metabolic diseases. Diabetes is the prototypic metabolic disease, meaning that it is the one that has a lot of components of other metabolic diseases like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, polycystic ovarian syndrome, and so forth. But if we can manage diabetes, if we can figure out what to do to be able to reverse our diabetes, then the ancillary things that are around it, the things that surround diabetes, also get better. So as we're walking through the path of improving diabetes, of reversing diabetes, we're seeing benefits in all those places as well. So that's the path that we've been on. How do I reverse my diabetes? And all the shows we've done, 51 shows so far. As of tonight, right? So next week it's going to be 52. All that is with the intention of going down the path of reversing diabetes. And so the tools that we're learning are the tools that are saying, hey, how do we... Well, let me say it this way. Most often, people, when they don't succeed, it's not because they don't have drive or they don't have commitment or they don't have a vision. It's because they don't have structure. And so the New Year, New You process has been a way to give structure to the things that sometimes we know, or the things that we've heard, or the things we're not quite sure how to implement. So New Year, New You, that's the journey. And in the process of going down that journey, there are a lot of questions that come up, a lot of things that people have, a lot of nuances that will come into your space. And so we want to spend some time in this episode kind of walking through some of that. So as you are thinking now, go ahead and begin putting some questions in the comments, and we'll get to those as we move through the space of, okay, what do we do? How do we move through this space? How do we set ourselves up for success in the New Year, New You process, and how do we get ready for, that's coming next week, how do we get ready for the limitless lives that we are going to be living limitlessly, right? And that's, of course, powered by this new version of ourselves that we are building, that we have built, that we are constructing, that we are setting up, right? New year, new you, right? Notice that the new you, right? It's new year, new you. So as we've been talking through the process, as we've been going through the journey, I don't know if you guys caught that as we have moved through the space. We're talking new year, new you, but the new year has always been small. The giant part of the new year, new you has always been you. I don't know if you guys caught that as we move through the journey, right? Because what's going to power us going into the next season, it is not the year, but it is the you that you're taking with you. So what are some questions that we have? What are some things that we want to consider as we're moving through the space of setting ourselves up for success? Okay. All right. So ask me anything, right? So that's where we are right now. Any questions that you guys have, anything that has been in your mind, anything that's been going on, and it doesn't have to be on a particular topic. It's really just ask me anything. Okay. But I do have some common questions that people have asked, and I hope you have some questions that you'll be putting in the chats. And we'll star those and we'll get to those. But as we move through the space until we get some of those, we'll be talking about a few things that I do want to make sure that we understand, right? That we understand. And when we started our journey, the first thing that we talked about was figuring out the why of the things that we're doing. What is the basis for what we are doing? What is the thing that's going to help me overcome those times when I'm having challenges? What are going to be those things? What is the driving force behind my desire for change? Okay. What is the thing? One of the questions I ask people in the office, because I have got a lot of folks who will come to me and they'll make comments like, well, I guess I'm not committed. I guess I don't have, I'm not consistent, right? I don't know how to be consistent. And one of the questions I ask, I said, wait a minute. Okay, let's walk through this together. You have a job? And they say, yes. And I said, how long have you been on the job? And they'll say, 10 years, 15 years, 20, whatever the number of years. And I'll say, well, how many times have you called out from your job? And I said, what do you mean? I said, well, how many times have you picked up the phone and called your job to say, I'm not coming in? And they'll say, oh, maybe once, twice a year if I'm sick or something's going on. And I said, so you've been on this job for 15 years. And over the course of 15 years, you're telling me that you probably called out maybe 15 times, maybe 30 at the most, over 15 years? And they were like, yeah. I said, well, we can't say then that you're not committed because obviously you are. We can't say that you're not consistent because obviously you are. We can't say you don't have drive because obviously you do. Because if you didn't, you'd be calling out all the time. But there is something that is pulling you to the job. In fact, there are probably times, if you think in your life as you're watching me, there are times where you didn't feel well, but you went to work anyway. There were times when something else was going on in the family that you needed to take care of, but you went to work anyway. And you went to work because there was a why. And you know what the why was? It was that piece of paper or that deposit or that whatever it was that you're getting from the job. That was your why. So even though there were times when you did not feel like going to the job, times when you would rather have been doing something else, you went anyway because there was a why. And so as we're thinking about the drive, when we're thinking about the process of becoming healthy, of reversing our diabetes, of improving our weight, of improving our metabolism, our blood pressure, our cholesterol, and all those things, the why has to be strong enough so that you will do what you need to do anyway, right? Because you go to work anyway. You get up and you go to the job anyway, because the why is stronger than the desire to stay away from the job. And so the first thing is, okay, what is the why? What is the why? Why are we doing the things that we're doing? Okay? And so you got to make sure that the why is strong. And I'm not talking about, I want to, I shouldn't say I'm not talking about that, because your why is your why, right? I was about to say something about a small why, but no, your why is your why. And if your why has the power to drive you, it doesn't matter. Like, your why may not be mine. Your why may not be strong enough to help me overcome the things I need to do. And my why won't work for you. So you have to figure out, what is your why? What is the thing that's going to give you the strength, going to give you the encouragement to get where you need to be? Okay? All right. And let's see. So that's the first thing we want to understand. We want us to understand that. Okay? So one of the questions that sometimes I'll get people asking me, and we have been, of course, in this space talking about fasting. So I get a lot of questions about fasting. And perhaps the biggest question that I get when it comes to fasting is this question about, what are the top benefits of fasting for someone with type 2 diabetes? Okay, so that's an interesting question, because it really encapsulates the things that we talk about with diabetes. And as we're applying different tools, that's the question you should be asking. Whenever anybody's talking to you about a particular tool that they're purporting that this will help with diabetes, then your question is, okay, what are the benefits of that tool? And so in the fasting space, what are the benefits of fasting? And so there are myriads of benefits for fasting, right? This goes back to our goes back to our pillars. And so the pillars are reducing sugar, suppressing appetite, and decreasing insulin. Right? Now notice I did it in backwards, right? But there are three pillars: decrease insulin, suppress appetite, and reduce sugar. And in the process of doing that, the benefits are, and practically speaking, right? Practically speaking, the benefits are, number one, you get improved insulin sensitivity, which means that the amount of insulin that your body makes works better. And if you're taking insulin from outside, if you're on insulin as a medication, you don't have to take as much insulin. So your insulin is working better. Number two, when we are fasting, we get weight loss. So insulin sensitivity, we get weight loss. We decrease our cravings. We get better blood sugar. And as a result of all of those things, now we set ourselves up for success in the other metabolic areas, right? So if my blood sugar is better, then my risk for complications goes down. Remember, we can decrease complications of kidney disease, amputations, blindness by up to 30% if we control blood sugars. Okay, so decreasing sugar, and so these are practical things. We've talked about all the theories and so forth that are going on, and all the things that are going on in your body. But the question that people have is, okay, what am I going to see? What is the actual thing that I see? And that's a big one, where the risk of complications goes down. People who have neuropathy, people who have blurry vision, those improve. because of fasting, because we're getting better blood sugars. Okay, so what are the top benefits? There's some of the benefits right there. There are some of the top benefits. All right, and then I do see a couple of questions out there, so let me go ahead and let's. Okay, so let's see. So I see one with Autumn. Autumn Joy says, what? Let me pull that up. She said, what is your opinion on rolling prolonged fast, specifically 72 or 96 hours? I know you do a 72-hour every week, but I'm curious about the rolling fasts. Which one day, with 1 day of eating in between. Okay, and so let me see if I understand the question correctly, Autumn. So are you saying a 72-hour fast with 1 day between and then another 72? Or are you saying that within the 72-hour time frame, you do like a 24 or 36 and then a 24-hour eating and then, right? So clarify that for me, okay? And Autumn is saying thank you for everyone's welcome. Yeah, if you clarify that for me, then I'll come back and I'll answer that question. Okay, let's see. Gian said, Doctor, I think I don't fasting forever. Let me see if I can. Gian says, Doctor, I think that I'm not going to fast forever. I think you're saying that you can't fast forever. Okay. So also coming back to Autumn. So Autumn is saying, so you're saying doing a 72-hour fast, 1 day between it, so 24 hour, and then coming back and eating again. And so, so whenever we're talking about fasting, great question, by the way. Whenever we talk about fasting, I think the ultimate thing is understanding what fasting is doing, right? That is understanding the body, understanding the changes that are going on in the body, and then what are the benefits that we're looking for. Okay? So if we're talking about, and let's walk through, and I'm just going to pick one, right? So I'm going to pick two, actually. If we're talking about fasting because I want to lose weight, the benefit of fasting over calorie reduction is that when you're simply reducing calories, you're still taking food in. And whenever you take food in, you're stimulating insulin. Whenever insulin is stimulated, then your weight doesn't change, right? And the body actually stores. The metabolism slows down because the body is still expecting stuff, right? So the body is still expecting. When we fast, we don't have that problem because we're not putting anything in. So the entire digestive process shuts down. And ultimately, if we are doing a 72-hour fast, right, the length of time that shuts down is amazing, right? Because you're not taking anything in for 72 hours. Insulin is going down. You're becoming more insulin sensitive. The body's burning fat, so you're producing ketones. You have mental clarity because you're fasting. The growth hormone levels are higher, so you're maintaining muscle mass. All that doesn't happen when reducing calories. And so then you break the fast and you eat. And we're eating often, right? Often we're eating not necessarily because of hunger, physiologic hunger. We're eating actually because of psychological hunger. Right? So there are the social cues, there are the physical cues, stomach is growling, and so I'm not used to going that long without eating. So theoretically, though, there is no reason to interrupt the fast. Okay? So that's the backdrop. Now, going to the rolling fast, I think going into the rolling fast it is beneficial because you're doing those longer fasts. Then you have a time where you can connect with family. I mean, you get some stuff that you want to eat, and so it doesn't become this kind of arduous thing to you. And so there is variety, there's breaking, and your body, when you come out of that 24-hour fast, you actually get more metabolic flexibility because your body kind of goes into it a much faster. Okay, so there's the social, there's the psychological aspect of it, and there is some physiologic issues, physiologic benefit to that. Now, so there's no harm. I guess let me say it that way. There is no danger. There's no harm in doing a 72, 24, 72. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, is that sustainable over time? You have to figure out, does that fit into your lifestyle? And if it does, and you're getting the benefit without putting yourself in danger, right? Because there is the danger of, particularly for people who are who don't have a lot of stores, right? So once you've gotten down where your BMI is like a 25, which is what's considered normal BMI, your BMI is at 25, and you are still continuing extended fast and you're continuing to lose weight, then we can get into the place where, hey, maybe we need to back off a little bit. Okay? So I hope that answers your question, Autumn. Okay, so yeah. So Juyeon says, I couldn't make it. All right, so let's go back to Juyeon's question. She said, Doctor, I don't think I could make fast forever. Well, so once again, so going back to, or combining that comment with what we just discussed with Autumn. So our goal is not, let me see how to say this. So one of the comments that I make in the room when I'm talking to patients, or when I'm talking to some of my clients, is I am really not so much, like, people call me the diabetes doctor or the sugar doctor, and it's appropriate because, that's what I do. But ultimately, my goal really isn't sugar control. My goal is long life with health. How do we keep you healthy as possible and keep you alive as long as possible? Those are the two things. And all the things that we do, right? Ultimately, if I had to summarize all that we do, it is how do we stay healthy for as long as possible? Now, ancillary to that, or I shouldn't say ancillary to that, but combined with that, though, is all the things that we talk about. So healthy does not just mean, hey, is my blood sugar controlled? Healthy also means, am I sleeping well? Do I have good relationships? Am I dealing mentally with the things that are going on in my life? Sometimes we think health and we just think about, oh, am I physically doing okay? So when I say healthy, how do we keep you alive as long as possible and keep you healthy as possible? Okay, so that's the goal. Now, all the things that we do are with the intention of achieving that goal. So in this space, right, and I want you guys to process this. If we could achieve that goal without you fasting, there's no point in fasting. Right? Because remember, fasting is a tool. Fasting is not just fasting itself. It is a tool that we're using to accomplish certain things. Now, people fast for lots of different reasons, right? In this case, we're fasting for, decrease insulin, suppress appetite, reduce sugar. But people fast for spiritual reasons. People fast because they want to get away from clutter. They want to get away from technology. They fast, right? They go through these fasts. Here we're talking about fasting from food, from calories. So as you're moving through the space of fasting, Jion, I want you to remember that the goal is not necessarily the fast. It is what the fast is doing for us. And if we are moving in the direction of getting benefit and improving, then that is where we want to be. So just because someone can't fast for 24 hours or fast for 72 hours or fast for whatever number of hours we pick, that doesn't mean that there's something wrong. But the question is, are we doing the things that we need to do to achieve the goal ultimately that we want, and which is long life and to be healthy? Okay. All right. So let's see. Gion says, Doctor, thank you. Okay. Teresa said, I know that we have talked about cholesterol medicine, Zystamib, and the side effects of muscle aches. Are there any more side effects? And I'm assuming that you're talking about that particular medication. So, Zystamib is one of those medications that is a cholesterol medication. Well, let me back up and do it this way. So when we talk about cholesterol medications, there are several reasons why we do cholesterol medications. For people who have high cholesterol, we treat their cholesterol because it is a way of improving their risk for heart disease, risk for strokes. Okay? In the diabetes space, there are people who do not have high blood pressure or high cholesterol, but are still put on cholesterol medication because diabetes is a coronary equivalent. What does that mean? It means that having diabetes, type 2 diabetes, and we're talking about specifically, having diabetes is the same as having had a heart attack. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to secondarily prevent complications. Does that make sense so far? So just because your cholesterol level is good and normal doesn't mean that as a diabetic you are not going to be on medication. Now there's a whole new conversation that's going on around that. We won't get into that right now, but you may get something from your insurance company, for example, that says, hey, you are diabetic and you're not on the cholesterol medicine. In fact, I get letters from the insurance companies for patients who come through the office and they'll say to me, hey, Mrs. Jones is a diabetic, but we noticed that she is not on, and they'll give a list of medications, whether it's cholesterol medicine or an ACE inhibitor, which helps protect the kidneys, or some other things. And so we put people on medication to protect their heart and protect them from stroke and heart attack. Having someone on a medication that lowers their cholesterol, simply by lowering the cholesterol, doesn't necessarily mitigate their risk because of diabetes. What do I mean by that? There is something in the statin drugs that we don't understand that confers on someone who's on a statin drug a benefit as it relates to heart disease. So if I take someone who's on a statin drug and another drug, and both drugs lower their cholesterol the same amount, the person who's on the statin drug gets better heart-related benefits than the person who's on the other drug. And so Zystamib, for example, is one of those other drugs that lowers the cholesterol, but it doesn't necessarily confer the benefits that come from being on a statin. So there are people who have lots of different effects. I don't want to say complications, but side effects, essentially, adverse reactions to all types of drugs. The statin class traditionally has been the class that's caused muscle aches, muscle pain, joint aches, joint pain, inflammation. In fact, statin drugs are said to increase blood sugar levels to a certain degree, right? Zystamib also has some of those same side effects, and so those are the things that you will see. And to answer your question, Teresa, I don't know of any additional complications, other than that people can have complications to drugs that are not necessarily listed on the reactions that people normally have. Because remember, when they list the reactions that people have to a particular drug, those are the most common ones that they're listing. That doesn't mean that that's the whole list. That's me. Just means that when we did this, the most common ones, I think it's 5%. All right, if you have people in your study, more than 5% of people have a particular reaction, then that's listed. But if 4% of people have the reaction, it's not necessarily showing up on the list. And there may be one person in the whole group had it, but that doesn't show up on the list. If that makes sense. All right. Let's see. Autumn says, on my eating days, I stick with low carb, carnivore, except when I have a bad eating day. Okay, so let's pause there. So Autumn, tell me what a bad eating day is. And she said, thank you, Doc. So I'm gonna hold that, I'm gonna star that, and I want you to tell me what a bad eating day is. Let's see, and then Autumn, Autumn, I like your question, your comments. I'm gonna star that one as well. Okay, wow, Autumn, I'm excited that you're in the community because you got some great comments out there. And I've just starred 3 of your comments. Gion says, I thought fasting is my goal. Thank you, doctor. My goal is healthy life. Yes. Let's pause there. And I want everybody, right? Everybody, if you're out there and you understand what Gion just said, I'm going to repeat it. I want you to put yes in the comments. So the goal is not fasting. Fasting is not the goal. Fasting is a tool that we're using to get to the goal, and the goal is a long, healthy life. So if you understand that, I want you to put yes in the comments, okay? Because I think that's sometimes where we get a bit sideways with all the things we do, whether it's exercise or whether it's low carb or whether it's carnivore, like Autumn just said, or whatever it is, right? We get sideways because we think the goal is that thing. And the goal is not that thing. That thing is just a tool that we're using to get to the goal. I remember when I first started learning to drive, a friend of mine, let me see if he's on. He pops on sometimes and he doesn't say much. No, I don't see him out there. But I remember I'm from New York, right? So as I said before. So when I came down to Huntsville, and in New York, I didn't drive, right? When I got here, I hadn't driven, so I started learning to drive when I was here. And so he had a old 1975 Volvo 4-speed, like white cream car. That car took us everywhere, by the way. And so we were right here on Rideout Road here in town, and he was teaching me to drive. And so I'm driving, and the car is going like this, right? And he stopped me. He's like, wait, stop. He said, so what are you doing? I said, well, I'm driving. He said, well, why are you looking down there? I said, well, I'm trying to keep the car in the lines. And he said, no. He said, if you keep doing that, the car is going to keep swerving. He said, what I want you to do is I want you to look at where you are heading, where you're going. Because if you look at where you're going, then the car is going to follow you, and you're not making all these big turns. You're kind of guiding the car at that point. And I think often we get so caught up in staying between the lines, right, that we lose sight of the fact that, hey, that's where we're heading up there. We get so caught up in fasting for 24 hours or fasting for 36 hours or not eating those carbs or not doing this thing that we forget that our trend is that we are trying to get long, healthy life. And there are going to be times when you're going to go outside the lines, but that's not doesn't mean anything that you are a bad person and all the things that, of course, we tell ourselves, right? All right. Gion says, Autumn, same here. I've been sometimes. Okay. So I think I know the feeling. I'm gonna come back to that. So let me jump down and see what Autumn says. Okay. So this was my question that I asked Autumn. I said, what is a bad eating day? And so Autumn says a bad eating day is binging on junk food and fast food. All right. So I love that. So let's talk a little bit. And I am going to say that I appreciate the comment and I appreciate where we all are. And notice what I said. I appreciate where we all are, not appreciate where you are. One of the things that happens, and this is a great conversation to have right now because we're just coming out of the holidays, right? Well, I shouldn't say coming out because we're still in that kind of holiday season. But one of the things that happens is that we've created in our head and we've created in our environment this running conversation. And the conversation goes like this. If I am able to stick to my eating plan, then I'm great. But if I deviate from my eating plan, then I'm bad. If I eat the ketogenic diet, then things are great. I'm a good person. But if I eat the dressing or the stuffing, then I'm a bad person. If I have some peach cobbler, or I have some apple pie, or I have the pecan pie, or pecan, depending on where you come, what part of the country you're from, then there's something wrong with me. But if I eat the rice cakes and the celery, then yes, I'm good. Okay? And I understand because that's how we have taught. That's how we have created. That's the environment that we've created. But what I want us to do is I want us to begin dispelling that conversation. So Autumn, I want you to listen to me and everybody else who's out there. We are not in the business, and when I say we, our community, we are not in the business of giving people carte blanche to just eat whatever they want, whenever they want, binging and all those, right? That's not where we are. But what we are in the business of doing is we are in the business of helping people to understand that if you do have, quote unquote, one of those bad eating days, that there's nothing inherently wrong with you. Let's pause there and let's listen. In fact, what we want to do, even going further than that, is we want to build into our day, build into our life, build into our month, build into our year, the times and understanding that those days are going to happen. They're going to happen. Your birthday, your anniversary, your hangout day with your friends, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, baby blessing, baby birth, wedding, funerals. They're going to happen. And we build them into our day and we build a procedure into our life to say, okay, what is going to be my plan when that day happens? And the plan ends with, okay, that happened, and now I'm back on my regular eating plan. Notice, right, whatever happened, right? So peach cobbler, pecan pie, apple pie, ice cream, cookies, candies, cakes. That happened, and now I'm back on my plan. Back on my eating plan. Because what happens often is we get caught up in the bad day and we spend time in the bad day because we feel bad because we had a bad day. because we had a bad day. Right. I'll tell you, so last week coming out of the weekend, I had a struggle in the first part of the week. And I was successfully able to get through my fasting and ended my fasting. And when I ended my fasting, Friday, Saturday, into yesterday, started buffering. You guys know what buffering is? That's that behavior that we do to avoid, to separate ourselves from the pain, to separate ourselves from the thoughts, to not deal with that issue. Right? So we buffer. And we sometimes stay in the buffer because we think, okay, well, yeah, I should be doing better. I should be doing differently. I shouldn't be doing that. But the more we do that, the more we stay in that space. Okay. So Autumn, that was the reason I asked about the bad day, because I wanted to have that conversation, because it's all in our heads. I shouldn't say it's all in our heads. We all have that. Right? We've all been in that space. So thank you for allowing me to use that example to have that conversation. Okay, so let's go back. So honestly, on my eating days, I stick with low carb, otherwise except when I have a bad eating day. Yeah. And let's see. I have plenty of stores. So I have plenty of stores now, even when losing 50 pounds since September. So the average person, they said, has about 100,000 calories of 100,000 extra calories stored in their body. So a lot of us, Autumn, have a lot of plenty stores. And of course, Autumn says, I tend to binge eat, so I love the feeling of control I get with fasting. Autumn, that is like let me give you some music for that. And I'm glad you say that, because sometimes when I say that to people, they don't understand. They're like, well, how can you look forward to fasting? And I say, I look forward to fasting because when I'm fasting, I don't have to worry about food. When I'm not fasting, then I'm tempted to use food as a buffer. But when I'm not fasting, when I'm fasting, I can't use food as a buffer. There's no option for me, okay, let me go grab that. Right? I'm not eating. So yes, I love that. I love that. Let's see. Gion said, I've been binging on food and food addiction over 20 years. I'm now 42. Now I try to overcome what you're doing for your whole life. Yeah, so there is a huge space out there. As you guys know that I've been in recovery for years now, and we don't talk much about food addiction. We don't talk much about food addiction. I don't know if you guys, let me see if I can get you to see this. Let's see. I don't know if you guys can read that. It says, I am now becoming the person I thought I would be 20 years ago. You see that, Julian? I'm now becoming the person I thought I would be 20 years ago. So it is a work in progress. And you're not alone. Autumn says, Gian, I understand the struggle. Teresa said, thanks, Doc. Hey, you're welcome. Pamela White says, yes. Okay, so understand. So Teresa says she understands. And this is that the goal is long, healthy life. Okay. Gian says, why binge food is sweet? Sweet things and junk. I want to binge on some healthy food. Gian, that is so true, right? So I've never had anybody say to me like they have a craving for broccoli, right? So it's always like cookies, candies, cakes. Like when I'm thinking about stuff to binge or to buffer with, I do not think of quote unquote those healthy foods, or as we say, the balanced bites. Balanced bites actually don't come, they don't come to my mind. I'm thinking about, the chocolate and the candy and the Cadbury's and the all that stuff. And it's because we've associated certain foods with the feeling, right? Because think about, as we're growing, right? Even now, right? When someone wants us to feel better, what do they give us? They don't give us broccoli. So we get associated with the feelings of good with the different types of foods. But if you take a child, right? And I mean, this is not 100%, but if you take a child and every time they felt bad, you gave them broccoli, they begin to associate broccoli with that feeling. And so now they grow up and they're like, okay, I'm going to get some broccoli because I want to feel better. It's a learned behavior. Now, it is amplified because the manufacturers, when they create the food, they put it together in certain ways that is more, that predisposes us to want to have that. Right? The perfect textures and perfect combination of sugar, salt, and fat. Right? So it's behavior, it is marketing, right? Because when they want you to say, okay, you're gonna feel better, you're going to be included, you're gonna be one of the elite, they don't show you broccoli. Right? They show you the ice cream cone with the caramel dripping around it with the little nuts and the cherry on top. Because that's what makes you feel better. And so it's a whole thing. Let's see. Autumn says, many times there are bad eating weeks. No kidding. Yes. I get that, Autumn. I get it. Yep. Bad eating weeks. And so remember our COPE model: clarify, observe, pause, and execute. COPE. So the COPE model says that we instinctively go to things that we think are going to protect us. The brain, the amygdala, does that. So that you see a tiger and the amygdala says it's got to run, because that's protection. You get stressed and the amygdala says, let's go find a way to ease the stress. And you remember the last time that we had this and we wanted to ease the stress, we had chocolate. Notice what happens. So there's this progression, right? So the amygdala is the part of our brain that's going to protect us. But the prefrontal cortex is the thought part of the brain. It's the part that gives reason. So you see a tiger and the amygdala says, let's run. But the prefrontal cortex says, hey, there's a tiger, but the tiger is in the zoo. So we don't have to run. So notice the same tiger, the same amygdala response, but the prefrontal cortex takes over. And the COPE model says that we have to be in the process of practicing, of training, of putting ourselves in a position where that automatic amygdala, that amygdala hijack, does not happen automatically. And so it gives a little bit of pause so that the prefrontal cortex takes over. Right? That's training. That's why in the military, for example, we can get a group of people whose normal tendency is to run from danger to all of a sudden now go towards danger because they have training. And we don't do enough training on how to put ourselves in a space to be successful. Okay? And so that's one of the things that we talk about. We've got to train. This can't just be something that you do once in a while, because once in a while is not going to be successful. All right, Gion says, question, Doctor, what is buffering? Okay, so buffering behaviors are all those behaviors that we do that insulate us, buffer us, between the things that we don't want to feel. So you get mad at your spouse, you have an argument at work, and because you don't want to deal with, or you can't deal with that emotion, we eat as a way of separating us from the emotion. It's the same reason that people get involved with drugs and alcohol and become hypersexual and get into gambling and all of the buffering behaviors, procrastination, right? All of those behaviors fall under that category because they are our body. These are the mechanisms that we use to take ourselves away from dealing with the issue. And remember, buffers, they make you feel, or they help you feel good for the moment. Because when I eat that chocolate, oh yeah, I feel good. And I can't tell, nobody can tell you that doesn't feel good. Yes, it does. If they tell you that it doesn't feel good, then they've not had the right chocolate. Okay? So for the moment, yes. But it ultimately doesn't deal with the issue. And so coping is, okay, even right now, I'm going to feel some pain. I'm going to have to confront. I'm going to have to face some things that are uncomfortable. But in the long run, remember now, in the long run, our goal is long, healthy life. So just like we go off the road, but our goal is long, healthy life, we buffer, but we're heading to long, healthy life. We also have to understand that there are times where we have to feel this pain right now because we're heading to long, healthy life. Come on, right? So this whole idea, the limitless living that we're going to be talking about, oh yeah, that's where it is. Okay. So Autumn says, I feel like binging is definitely a mental thing, but so damn difficult to break the cycle. So good thought there, Autumn. And I don't know if you heard me as I was going through the COPE model, right? So often we try to break the cycle by breaking the cycle. But we break the cycle by putting structure around it. And so that's what COPE says. We have to clarify, what really am I feeling? So it's not that I want that food. It's that situation that just happened hurt my feelings. So I clarify, right? So I understand. Now, I may still eat the food, but now I understand that it's not that I'm hungry. It is that something happened. Okay, where do I feel that? That's the observe part. Am I feeling anxious? My stomach is churning. Am I feeling angry because, I feel like my head is hot? Am I feeling tense because my shoulders just feel tight? Right? So we clarify that it's not hunger. We observe where am I feeling in my body, and we give a name to it. So I'm angry. I'm anxious. I'm frustrated. I'm lonely. I'm tired. I'm bored. Now, once we've given a name to it, clarify, observe, once we've given a name to it, now we have a way of dealing with that. Now, once again, in all of these spaces, we may still eat the food, but now we understand. And then we pause. That pause, because now we say, okay, it's not hunger. And, by golly, I'm mad. I'm upset that she did that he said that they didn't like this, that, I'm lonely. How dare they? Right? Whatever it is. And that process allows pause for the prefrontal cortex to take over the amygdala. That's what the pause does. And once that happens, then we begin to execute something else. We pick a different behavior than the behavior we normally do. That's not going to happen the first time. It's not going to happen the second time, third, fourth, fifth. I don't know how many times it's going to take for that process to go through so that you are, each time you walk through the process. Each time, even as you're eating the thing, one time your brain is going to say, okay, look at this process, and we're going to be able to make a different decision. Okay, it is definitely, right? I feel hunger is so hurt me, let me start to eat. Yeah, so hunger. So you say hunger it feels like we're hurting. Now, one of the things that happens is sometimes we feel that growling in our stomach, right, feels like pain because we're so used to having something in our stomach. Yeah. Cornelia says, hi, Autumn. That's one reason why I started fasting. On occasion, I felt out of control and giving in to too many cravings. Yes. So Cornelia, yes, I love that. Yeah, hand clap for that. All right, and then I see Ella. Hey, Ella, how are you? Give you a hand clap and some music. And welcome, welcome, welcome to the community. She said, thanks, doctor. I am new and am learning, and I know I will get better. Well, okay, come on, jump in with us. We in this together. We are in this together, Ella. Cornelia says, I crave healthy foods when I'm fasting. I feel my body can be a trickster. I'm so glad this community emphasizes the Cope model. Oh yeah. It the brain is this amazing thing. It's amazing when it works for us, but it can be so tricky as well. And you may not have heard me talk yet about the two parts of our brain, our two parts of our mind. There is the inner coach. That's that person that has our back, that person that encourages, that person that pushes, drags, supports. And then there's the inner critic. And the inner critic is that part of us that remembers all the bad things you've ever done, right? All the little mistakes that you've done, all the times somebody said something bad to you, all the times that you didn't do the right thing. And those two are always there. And the inner critic has an immense database. Like right now, if I ask you something, you can probably tell me 100 things that you did wrong. And if I say to you, give me some stuff that you've done right, you probably give me 2 or 3. Why? Because the inner critic has a database memory, right? It's all filed, right? Cross-filed in sections, and it's all connected. For the inner coach, we've got to go look, and we've got to pull. You got to take out like cardboard boxes, and you got to take this out of that before you find the thing that, right, that you did. And so our goal is always to strengthen the inner coach. Always giving the inner coach. That's why we say celebrate your wins. When you have gone, like I had a lady one time said that she failed because she fasted. I said, well, how many hours did you fast? She said like 56 hours. I said 56 hours. That's a win. Right? So celebrating that. Gian says, normally I binge Saturday night. Gian. That is it right there. It's the nighttime and the weekends. For a lot of people, they make it through the week. So the question that we all have to ask ourselves, and I ask myself this all the time, what is it about that moment or that time that's causing the binging, the craving? Because I have my cravings at night and I have my cravings on weekends. That's it. So go to bed early, right? Do I need to go to bed early? Am I bored, right? Because everybody in my house usually is sleeping and I'm up doing stuff. And on the weekends, do I need to find some more community things to do? Like, I am very involved, I'm very busy, but sometimes I am busy and not connecting. Right? I'm busy doing stuff, but I'm not really connecting. And for me, I think that's where sometimes the eating and the binging and the buffering comes. Autumn says, Cornelia, I love the feeling of being in control. I actually miss that when I am on a prolonged prolonged binge. Sadly, it still takes some time and motivation to break the binge cycle. Okay. So I like that, Autumn. Thank you for dropping that out there. So the cycle, right? The binge cycle, the cope model, the heat model, right? So all these are tools that we've learned. So understanding what my and let me put that up, right? So heat model. The heat model says we eat because of triggers. This is other than food, other than when we're hungry. We eat because of triggers. And the triggers come in one of four categories: habits, emotions, access, and taste. The routines that we've gotten into, right, will trigger us. We always do the same thing. We always eat this. We always eat when we go to the movies. We always eat when your sister comes over. We always do this on Tuesdays because that's when we go doing this thing. And so the food is associated with it. So we can't do that activity without the food. The social cues. Everybody gets up at lunch and they go to lunch. And so even if we're fasting, even if we are saying we're not eating, then that triggers there and it pushes our button. And if we're not careful, the amygdala takes over and it starts to run before the prefrontal cortex gets a chance to override it. Okay? So we eat because of habits. We eat because of emotions. If we get too angry, too frustrated, too sad, too bored, too tired, too anxious, all of those things will push us in the direction of eating. It will push through the decisions that we've made about what we're going to eat, when we're going to eat, how much we're going to eat. It's like the roller coaster. When that roller coaster car gets to the top, it's coming back down. And it doesn't matter what you do. You can yell, scream, jump, fuss. It is coming down. And if we don't deal with the emotions on this side, that's why the cope model works. If we don't deal with that before that amygdala takes over, then the amygdala hijacks the whole process. And we eat because of access. I'll tell you, and I'm going to take a picture for you guys so that you can see the struggle is real. So in my office, right? So we get food down in the cafeteria. And when I'm fasting, I don't go to the cafeteria to get food. But what I've done is I'll go down there and I'll get we'll get 3 bags of chips, and I bring it up and I put it in the office. I get chips, put it in the office. Get chips, put it in the office. If you go into the drawers in my office, the food that I'm not eating, it's like I'm a hoarder. Like the scarcity mentality. They're like candy bars. There's like granola bars. There's like nuts and stuff in my office. So I'm gonna take a picture for you guys. Right? So the access that we have, the things that are around us, because if the thing wasn't there, when the emotions came, then we wouldn't eat it. Yep. So you get up to go to the bathroom and you pass by the kitchen. You get up at work and you pass by your coworker's desk and they have that bowl of whatever on their desk. You're not hungry, but because it's accessible, you eat it. And we eat because of taste, right? The memory that the food brings back of the place where we were when we felt that way, the security that the chocolate gives. I had a guy who was telling me that he couldn't understand why there was a certain type of candy or cookie that he loved. And I said, well, tell me about it. He said, well, when I was a kid, my uncle used to go away, right? I lived with them. And whenever he would come back, right, he would bring me and my cousins, he would bring this candy or this cookie. And so he grew up. I mean, he's an older fella now, right? So he grew up with the association of feeling connected, feeling belonging with those cookies. And so now every time he wants that feeling, he gets those cookies. Or every time he sees those cookies, he wants to get them because it brings the feeling. But understanding those connections is the first key to being able to deal with those binging, Autumn. And it takes time. It's not the first time. It's not the second time. It's not the third time. It's not the fourth time. But eventually, as you continue to look at those, you will see that. And Jennifer saying, hello, welcome to community, Ella. Gion says, so I eat sweet cakes every Saturday night. What do you think, doctor, about this? Sweet cakes. So I've got two comments. I've got two comments. Now, I'm not going to knock your sweet cakes, right? So remember, we never knock food. What we do say is that we've got to understand why we're eating the food. And what is it doing for us? Because if we can get that a different way, then the food loses its power. Okay? Ella said, thank you, guys. Millie Jones. Hey, Millie, how are you? Welcome. Millie says, what is your take on berberine and mulberry extract for blood sugar? So berberine has been one that has been shown anecdotally to have some benefit. The mulberry extract, once again, it's there, but it's not. The evidence is not as strong as for the berberine. But yeah, so berberine, bitter melon, cinnamon, ashwagandha, chromium, all of those have been shown to give benefit, Millie. There's not a study. Nobody's done the studies, but there's enough anecdotal evidence to show that there's some benefit there. Good question. I love it. Pamela says, welcome. Gion says, hi, Ella. Gion says, hi, Millie. Hi, everyone, and I'm glad to be in the space. Hello, Millie. Yeah, I know I've been talking, so I'm going to get through these so we can get out of here. Jennifer says, howdy, Millie. Welcome to the gang. Yes. Gion says, doctor, is it possible to adopt to feel the enduring hunger growling? Huh. I'm assuming that you're saying, are you able to adapt to the feeling of growling? Yeah, it is a learned behavior. So we've gotten so used to something being in the stomach, right? Stretching, that whenever that stretch goes away, then we feel that we're like, okay, I need to put something else in there. So it is a learned behavior. So to answer your question, Gion, yes. Gion says, I hope I connect this community very often, even weekends, when I am here and listening, doctor, to your lecture. I feel so safe and calm. Thank you. Well, I'm glad, Gion, and we are, as I said last week, we're working on a way for us to be able to connect even outside of the lives. What day and time will the fast start this week? So Cornelia, I actually started my fast yesterday. I started fast yesterday because I'm using my tool to get back on my eating plan. I ended my fast last week at how many hours did I do, by the way, you guys? Was it 96 hours? So last week I did a 96-hour fast, and then buffered for lots of the weekend, and those are those high blood sugars that you guys saw. And so yesterday I was like, okay, yeah, let me, and just like, I think it was it Autumn who said about binging and taking a while for that to happen. It's still, yeah. So Autumn says it still takes some time and motivation to break the binge cycle. So it is a process. It is a work in process. It is a work in progress. Each time that you do that, each time that you put another peg in, then you're giving support to that inner coach that says we can do this. That's why mantras and motivation are so important. That's why visualization is so important, right? Because each time we do it, we're getting more and more and more and more successful at it. Okay. Awesome. So we started it yesterday. Typically, we started on Tuesdays, right? So it's typically we go Tuesday. So Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday are our 72-hour fasting days. This week I've started it earlier, right? So I'm adding another day at the beginning of my week to get there. Okay, awesome. All right, so I know we went a little over, but I wanted to make sure that we got these questions in, and I'm so excited that we've got some new community members that are out there. Thank you all for joining us. We will be doing our community meetup. Remember, on the 19th at 7 p.m. Central. I'm going to go ahead and pop that that link in there. If you've not done so, go ahead and make sure you sign up for that. It's a great opportunity to see each other's faces and hear each other's voices, and to actually deal with some things specifically with us. As we are in that space, we do some coaching so that we're able to talk to you and you're able to communicate with us, and we all learn from each other. I love doing that. And in the future, we are putting together a space where we can spend time supporting each other. I know for me in recovery, having a group of people that have been with me that I don't have to explain, right? So for instance, Autumn, when you say binging and eating on the weekend, you don't have to explain that to me. Because I'm there. I understand. I'm right there with you. Okay? And so being in a space with people who are like-minded, who are moving in the same direction, and remember, our direction is long, healthy life. Okay, so we'll be looking for that. So we hope that you will join us. We will come back. We'll continue doing our fast, our check-ins later this week. We've got our check-in for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We've got video from the vault Saturday night at 9 p.m. Central. This Week in Review Sunday morning at 6 a.m. Central. And then right back here next week, Monday, Dwain Woode MD Live. Remember, the next Monday is going to be our last show, Dwain Woode MD Live. The next one, will be our last show. We will continue doing our check-ins for this week and next week. And then after the show on the 23rd, I think is that date, then our next show is going to be on the 6th of January. Okay, so as we launch into the new season. And we'll talk more about what that means. And next week we're going to be doing some introductory information to the new season so that we get ready, right? And over the course of the time, I want you all to understand that you are in the position of having unlimited ability and unlimited ability to make changes. You can make a difference in your life. The binging, the complications, the things that have happened in the past is the past. And we're today starting moving forward. Now, let me say this. That doesn't mean that tomorrow you're not going to binge or tomorrow you're not going to buffer. That's not what that means. That means that you are each time setting yourself up and say, okay, I am making a decision that I am going in the right direction, that I'm working on being healthy. I'm working on having a long, healthy life. That's what that means. That you are living a limitless life. Yeah. You guys heard that? And it's built on the new us that we're developing. Okay, so make sure you join us. Remember our heat model. When you come, remember to join the challenges. Each time we do a challenge, every month we have a challenge that we're going to go through. So that's your opportunity to practice. It takes practice, training, practice. It's not a one-time thing. When you show up, tell your story. Let us know where you are, what successes you're having. If you're having some challenges, some obstacles, come alongside. Let's come around each other and let's support each other as we move through the space. And then invite a friend. Let them know that there's a space where they can come, where they can be metabolically healthy, that they don't have to keep having those complications. They can make a decision to do something differently. Your family, they don't have to keep having heart attacks or losing limbs or going blind or going on kidney dialysis. We don't have to keep having spaces where we are feeling lonely and alone when there is a community where you can be supported. We do all that we do based on our Triple E formula for success. We educate, we empower, and we encourage you to take charge of your health and life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And then this year, as we say, new year, new you. Well, I'm always glad to be here. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for being in the space. I love the community. You guys are amazing, and welcome to all of our new folks who came in over the course of this episode. We look forward to seeing you as vibrant members of our community as we move forward and as we get healthy together. Hey, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here in the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And in this year, new you. We'll see you at our shows later this week, and we look forward to seeing you in our community meetup on the 19th. Good night, everybody.